HSBC is one of the biggest banking companies in the entire world, operating in over 58 different countries. This gives it a wide range of different suppliers for procurement. However, smaller businesses fly under the radar, making the diversity of the procurement portfolio not as good. Well, we believe our strategy will solve this. Hi, I'm Mats, this is Anna, Philip, and Helen, and we believe our STAR strategy will level the playing field and allow small businesses to be found by HSBC and increasing the diversity of our supplier portfolio. Helen, would you like to go on a few insights?
Thank you very much, Mats. So, banking services are one of the hardest markets to succeed in. However, over 160 years, HSBC was able to secure a top market position. It has now generated over $65.9 billion in 2024 and has developed a vast network consisting of up to 41 million customers worldwide. In addition to that, HSBC has contracts with over 19,000 suppliers in only 2024. What can be concluded from this? We can say that HSBC has a stable market position, which allows it to leverage niche opportunities. Can we please go on to the next slide? With the current focus and a desire to make the world more equal, we need action from the big corporations. And we think a diversity is a great example for that. Diversity also brings a lot of benefits for the HSBC itself, as it increases resilience in the face of unexpected situations, gives opportunity for unique ideas that come from different cultural experiences, and allows HSBC to complete its mission as an organization. However, when trying to diversify the supplier chain, we can see that the current selection process doesn't really fit the mission that HSBC puts for itself. When choosing out of a pool of suppliers, focusing on utility, size, and costs only makes us focus on profitability of the companies, overlooking the holistic approach. We can see that out of pool of big companies, small companies, diverse companies, and not diverse companies, this approach only selects the big and diverse companies, as usually they are the most cost-efficient ones. Thus, we can see that this process needs alteration. We need to add additional criteria so that the selection process will focus and take into account the diversity factor and allow small companies that are very diverse to secure contracts with such a big company as HSBC. Thus, our question stands: how can HSBC turn the concept of diversity into a tangible criteria to level up the supplier pool? And I think our strategy answers that question really well. Mats and Philip, would you please walk us through our solution?
Yes, thank you, Helen. We would like to begin with the supplier diversity portfolio and specifically developing it to become more holistic. Now, your current portfolio has a few very important data points, specifically the turnover of the procurement companies, the demographic of employees, including age, gender, and ethnicity, as well as the number of employees, as well as the geographic scope of the delivery of your product or service. We believe there should be a few more things added to this portal with our new portal structure, which includes future opportunities of the company and their ability to grow in future years, the sustainable operations, and seeing if the company can hit net zero by 2030, a key goal of HSBC themselves, as well as establishing relative diversity to other firms within the market. Now, we believe we have a solution for this, our STAR framework. This consists of 6 main criteria. The first 3 are what HSBC does currently, looking at costs, utility, and size, but we would like to add 3 more dimensions. The opportunity of the company, its diversity, and of course, its sustainability. But let's go a bit deeper into these criteria. First, we would like to look at costs, specifically the overall cost of the firm, but also the comparative cost to the market to see if they are efficient and effective compared to other procurement businesses within the market. The next is size. This will be seen mostly through government criteria. For example, in India, they believe a small business is with investments of less than 100 million rupees and a turnover of less than 500 million rupees. This is quite different to another country, such as Singapore, which believes a small business has a turnover of less than 100 million Singaporean dollars, which is quite larger. Also, they have an employment force of less than 200 employees, otherwise it is not seen as a small business. These criteria will be used to see the differentiation between if a business is small or large. The next is our utility. This will be looking at the use of assets and investments within the company. Therefore, we will look at the strength and weakness of the firm's asset portfolio, as well as their organizational structure, to see if they're either hierarchical or very decentralized, as well as the product offerings and different products and services the firm gives within their procurement. Now, the next three criteria will help the new businesses punch up and be seen as viable options by HSBC. The first is opportunity. This allows us to look at if companies can develop their current core competencies and become market leaders in the future. We will also look at specifics that will help small businesses be seen better, such as if it is a lean structure business, which allows it to be more flexible and fast, adapting to market adaptations to see if it may grow within the future. We will use this with our new in-house AI development to forecast these possible future changes. Next is diversity, but not just diversity of the company itself, the comparative diversity to the market and HSBC. HSBC has a very strong diversity portfolio. Therefore, we believe the companies we procure from should be equal or greater in diversity internally, as well as being greater than the diversity of the market itself. Now, lastly, we would like to look at the sustainability of the procurement firm. This means, of course, if the company is going to net zero with their net emissions. We will have a look at the operations compared to HBSC and see how much they are emitting per year. But more specifically, we'll look at their ability to hit net zero in the future, as a key goal for HSBC is to reach net zero by 2030. So we want these procurement firms to do the same. Now, that's a lot of information, so we would like to look at some specific examples. Philip, would you like to take it away?
Thank you very much, Mats. Now that we've taken a look at our framework, let's start to apply it to actual relevant cases. HSBC is in current need for some server racks for the Singapore data center, and we have two choices between Transoceanic and Flying Elephant. Transoceanic is an extremely large company, being part of a group that is already being public in the Singapore Stock Exchange, and that thus does apply and relate to the ESG standards of the exchange. Furthermore, it has already developed some very interesting points in utility for the HSBC, having already worked with them in the past for the data center. The size is pretty impressive, but this also means that this is a minor contract for the company, not being able to provide much interest for the main company itself. Furthermore, the diversity is quite impressive. Now, let's take a look at Flying Elephant. While the size is much smaller and the cost is probably going to be much higher or significantly higher rather than a bigger company because of the small size of the company, we have a very high opportunity here to invest in a company that can start developing tools that are significantly related to HSBC's needs. Furthermore, we have a high utility because with the lean and small structure of the startup, we are able to ensure that we are provided a service that is directly related to us, our needs, and that is put in a high standard. Furthermore, we are also having a strong social impact in the direct economy in which we are operating. This is also significant and relatable to HSBC's desire to be impactful in a positive way for the communities it is operating in. Furthermore, it is also important to mention that the diversity inside of FET is significantly strong. While all people working inside are in fact Singaporean nationals, there is a strong heritage component that makes it a very interesting parameter of the company as well. Now, moving on into another of the necessities of HSBC right now is an app being developed for the Indian market. We need a banking app, and we have two main choices, Colab and Zippy. Colab is a significantly big company, boasting a very large revenue and having already gone net zero by 2020. This means that it is extremely sustainable and that it has also a strong size factor to account for it. This allows it to boast and offer a very competitive bid that it would not otherwise be possible. It also has a strong utility as it has already developed in the past a similar instrument for a bank in the Philippines. So we have a very competitive bid, an established track record, as well as extensive expertise in the area. What can Zippy offer? While the price cannot be as low as Colab due to the size of the company, Zippy offers a very strong opportunity and diversity environment. It is highly diverse, being woman-found and woman-led, and it offers strong opportunity as with its current focus in the identification technology, it can boast one of their core competencies to then go ahead and develop an ecosystem that is tailored exactly to HSBC's needs. This can also lead to more adherence to compliance issues that are significantly unique in India's market. As with the company's smaller and leaner structure, we will be able to tackle issues and problems that could arise in the specific market much faster and with much more efficiency. Furthermore, it is important to notice that there is a high social component to it, with Zippy offering a graduate program to new graduates that are entering the job market that leads to significant improvement in the working sectors they are operating in. So now that we've taken a look at this framework, let's take a look at the next slide. Thank you. Let's take a look at how we can support them once we have found them. We have taken a look at the framework. With the framework, we are able to select and onboard the companies into our tender. But now that that is done, what can happen? We want to offer our solution, a supplier dashboard. With the platform already set in place, it will be easy to implement a dashboard for the suppliers, through which they can both gain support in the tender phase and in the partner phase. In the tender phase, direct access to AI-generated feedback on their offerings as well as on their proposals will ensure that they really understand what HSBC's needs are and are able to tackle them directly and confidently in their offering. With our support in the application and in the management, they will get a timeline and checkpoints that they need to follow in order to complete the tender in a successful way and in order to ensure a strength in the application that they are proposing to HSBC. Furthermore, when the moment of the contract arrives, it is going to be positive to leverage AI to generate contracts that are taking into consideration both HSBC's and the company's needs when actually starting the partnership. But now that the partnership is actually initiated, how can we further support SMEs going through our system? Through our continuous support and periodic feedback, we are going to ensure that they have a strong understanding of their position right now and how they can strengthen their offering. Furthermore, it is possible that due to our database, we will be able to put them into connection with companies that could already provide some core competencies they could be in need of, which for SMEs boasting more specialized teams could be a big value offered. Furthermore, we want to allocate an area to education and to rank suppliers of the suppliers themselves. This will ensure that our suppliers are conscious about the framework that we are using and can decide to further utilize the STAR method themselves to provide an understanding of their sustainability and the diversity of their suppliers. This can lead to tier 2 diversity in the suppliers. Finally, our payment scheduling and direct support will tackle one of the main issues, being the cash flows inside of the SMEs. This will ensure that companies understand precisely when the cash is going to arrive and are able to ask for support should it not fit their specific schedule. Now, moving on, we've had quite some stuff that we've talked about, so let's comprise it a bit again. We have a STAR method and a STAR framework that we want to include in HSBC's evaluation of SMEs when deciding who to partner with supplier-wise. We have a platform that we want to introduce, that we already have, and a dashboard that we want to introduce next to it. Now, one question remains. Will HSBC be able to attract, retain, and support the growth of their stars? Our answer, yes, if our solution is implemented timely and in a correct way. So, first, we want to go to the redesign of the platform to include the questions that we are needing in order to comprise the new framework. This is going to include questions about diversity, questions about the opportunities, and questions about sustainability, and will take us 1 to 6 months. With the design of the dashboard, we will ensure that SMEs are able to access that data and to get continuous feedback. This will take us approximately 3 months. After that, we will introduce the STAR framework inside of these operations as well as internally in HSBC. This will be done in month 9 and will be accompanied with a training of the teams that are already operating with it and of the teams that are going to be operating directly on the platform. Finally, after 18 months of operations, we want to be able to take an analysis of the current performance of the strategy and understand how it has gone. Key points to consider are a close feedback loop with suppliers, a focus on tech development in the AI field, and impact-oriented actions. Talking about impact, Anna, do you want to give us some insights?
Thank you, Philip. Now let's assess some costs and revenues in order to understand the feasibility of our feedback strategy. In order to provide proper feedback and support our small companies, we need to develop an in-house AI model. Of course, we could leverage on existing AI in order to minimize our costs, but we want to emphasize the development of this AI model in-house. We believe it's essential for cybersecurity reasons as well as the privacy of data of our suppliers and clients. We believe that the development of AI model in-house will incur a cost of 1.3 million in year 2025. The cost is mainly attributed to research and development as well as the salaries of skilled labor and the utilization of proficient software. The development of AI will feed into the feedback that is given by the dashboard. This dashboard can draft contracts and help support the small and medium enterprises that we provide services to, and they provide the services back. The development of this dashboard will lead to a cost of 100K per in the developmental stage. This, in combination with the electricity for running the AI model, as well as the maintenance cost, will lead to 300K costs per year. This can be seen on the table. In year 2025, we face the highest cost, and the costs decrease in the upcoming years. Now, how does the cost compare to the revenue HSBC? Well, as we can see, the profit of HSBC in year 2024 was 32 billion US dollars. This, compared to the cost, is highly significant. Thus, we believe that the feasibility of our strategy is highly likely with a low cost. Now, let's take a more holistic approach and assess potential risks. The first risks we have identified is low survey participation. In order for our AI model to develop proper and accurate responses, we must have the most accurate responses from our employees. In order to do so, we suggest a bonus points are awarded for all the employees that complete our survey. This bonus point can be used to purchase goods from the cafes at a discount. That is why the low survey participation has been appointed a low likelihood with a medium impact. The second sort we consider is unavoidable trade-offs. Of course, the bigger companies with 100 employees are more likely to have disabled people, LGBTQ representatives, and other minorities, whilst the smaller companies with around 10 employees have much lesser opportunity to have all minorities included in their employee base. This is almost an impossible trade-off, but we try to tackle this by allocating priority to the groups that are the most under social pressure right now, and employing the suppliers that are addressing them and up promoting them. The third source of risk we have identified is the default risk. It is most likely that the startups, 80% of the startups go bankrupt within the third year of their development. Thus, we must assess partners in order by their future cash flows and choose them based on their success rate. Lastly, we have looked at the fact that the SMEs have a harder time acquiring finance by external banks. If they're unable to acquire finance, they're unable to fund projects. If they're unable to fund projects, they're unable to grow. But we want to partner with firms that are able to grow as much as possible. This is why we try to offer application processing for their loan applications free of charge. This will also has potential to lead for greater clientele. Now, let's look at some potential ESGs as well as KPIs. Implementation of our strategy will lead to increased brand awareness. HSBC is not only a bank that cares about profit, but it also cares about its people. It will also lead to compliance with government regulations. When entering new markets, certain countries have regulations on diversity. By having already a diversified board of employees and customers, as well as suppliers, we can already satisfy those considerations. Thirdly, it will lead to diversified customer and supplier chain, which is a mission of your bank. And lastly, it will pose opportunities for future growth. As for the ESG considerations, we believe that the environmental impact it will have is through the decrease in carbon dioxide emissions, as we will be only partnering with suppliers that have low carbon emissions. For the social impact, we believe in equal opportunities for everyone and through inclusivity and diversity. And lastly, the government, it will lead to improved corporate governance from within. Thank you for listening, and we believe that through the implementation of our framework, we can promote diversity in HSBC.
20 minutes over. Now we'll be moving on to a 15 minutes Q&A session.
I'll start. Thank you very much. That was very well presented. I'd like to go back to the AI model. If there was a relevant slide you could show about using AI to help the SMEs. Yes. Could you explain a little bit more, and I know you did after that. We're creating an AI model to help them and that feedback. Can you walk me through a little bit about how you implement the feedback that would help them perform better to help HSBC?
Of course. So this is a feature that we actually were planning to have both in the support and in the partner stages of the companies. And the way that we would like to leverage AI is that AI right now is very strong in data management and in data and in providing information based on data. So we want to leverage HSBC's already very rich internal database, which has boasts a lot of information about companies, market rates, and market demands. And we want to make sure that our SMEs and our partners that are applying to be partners or are already partners get access to the benefit of this data. And through AI, we are able to do this by not providing them directly with data, which could also be sensible and sensitive, but with providing them with direct and concrete feedback that they can implement very easily into their operations. So here the idea is to leverage as much of the data that HSBC already has in its proprietary state. And furthermore, leverage also the data that we are raising through the platform that is comparing the different SMEs, and that is going to also be able to include the rates of failure, the rates of success of the products due to the questionnaires that we want to implement in the new platform when they are applying. And we want to leverage all that data for the users of the dashboard to be able to access it via AI-generated responses. That was the idea.
Sorry, and just to add up, to press on it a bit further, so is this then dashboard then available to the entire supplier base in HSBC?
Yes, that would be the idea. So the idea here is that by making it available to the whole supplier ecosystem as well as suppliers, it is a bit of a different, obviously, AI that they're getting access to, because suppliers that are applying will get an AI that is trained with less sensitive data, and that will be more focused on making sure that their offer is aligned with the values of HSBC, is aligned with the needs of HSBC, and so on. Whereas with the suppliers, we really think that there is a very strong opportunity here to grasp, because on one side we are able to strengthen our whole supplier ecosystem by making them be able to interact with one another indirectly through the data, and this means that we are less reliant on bigger companies, and we can really go ahead and foster these SMEs that we can use as suppliers. And secondly, an idea that was also we were not able to implement correctly in the presentation, but it was also very interesting to us, was the ability to connect the SMEs when they enter our supplier network with one another. So say, for example, there is a very small company that is developing our app in India, and they have a very strong core competency in identity validation, but maybe they're not as strong in full stack development, or maybe more specific other niche areas. We would like to be able to make it so that our suppliers can basically all connect to each other and can help provide HSBC with a more complete and stronger product. I hope this answers your question.
Thank you. Can we just go back to the STAR framework and where you went through the different options? I thought that was quite interesting. But where you've got the companies, where you rated the companies, I think you've got a couple of slides. And apologies if I missed it, but for the 2 cases where you did this analysis, who won the bids on the back of this?
So, okay, the idea here was to create a framework that would support the already existing acquisition team at HSBC. This is due to the fact that they have significantly more sectorial knowledge and experience than us in retaining and in considering these bids. That being said, we do have obviously a preference in which we would like to collaborate with. So in both cases, actually, we would like to go ahead and proceed with the SMEs if we implement the other parts of the strategy as well. So our idea here is, due to the fact that we have implemented this new framework and due to the fact that due to this new framework, we can see that there are strong opportunities that can be pursued if collaborating with smaller companies, as well as a strong opportunity to be impactful on a social way, very directly, and in the diversity. We would like to then be able to leverage our other parts of the solution, such as, for example, the dashboard and the overall platform, to make sure that these companies get the help they need to grow and to get to the level, if they aren't there already, that HSBC needs in their suppliers. That being said, both companies do boast a very impressive technical set of competencies, which would make it possible to already satisfy HSBC's needs to our understanding.
Thank you. Just one quick follow-up on that. So what you're saying is for both of those, you would go for the SME, so in Singapore and India, okay. Now, so my question is there anything going through that decision that you think we might have a risk at the other side of it if we'd have gone with the other one?
So absolutely, there's risks. If I understand the question correctly, it's about risks. Yes, there is significant risk, as Anna mentioned as well, in collaborating with SMEs, such as, for example, a risk with Zippy is the fact that they won't have all significant competencies to tackle like a complete app development. They have very strong core competencies, but maybe they don't have everything, right? Well, this, we believe it can be tackled both through the AI feedback, and I think that can also be addressed by having a risk matrix in place to be aware of those risks. But the idea here was to really focus on making the biggest possible impact on diversity and on society, while not losing on efficiency and on impact on the company side. So the idea here was not to focus, say, for example, on cost, but on making sure that the product is up there and the impact is up there, which means that the cost will probably be...
Thank you very much. The major risk we have identified with going with smaller and medium enterprises instead of the bigger companies is the risk of default. As I mentioned previously, most startups, 80% of them go bankrupt within 3 years of their development. This will pose high insolvency costs for us, as well as major issues, as they no longer will be able to provide their services. If they can provide the services to us, we can provide our services to our clients. This is a very, very high risk. That is why, in order for the selection of the right SMEs, we need to do a very intensive research in their future cash flows and the ability to mitigate potential bankruptcy in the future. Thank you. I hope our answers answer your question.
So thank you for the presentation. You mentioned including net zero and an environmental net zero transition plan as part of your supplier selection criteria. Can you tell me how you think about any potential tension between including that as a criteria versus your other objectives here, and how they'd be managed?
Sorry, could you repeat the last part of that question?
Yeah, so do you see there being any tension or any potential contradiction between including the net zero criteria with the other objectives in your framework?
Yes, thank you for that question. There's, of course, a bit of tension between the original 3 criteria. If I could see the framework. With the original 3 criteria in blue as well as the ones in red. As you can often see, SMEs are much stronger in opportunity, diversity, and sustainability than their utility and costs. This is because we want to show the different comparative advantages of the smaller businesses and the larger businesses. So often an SME, such as FET, has much greater diversity and sustainability in their operations. However, this leads to lower utility compared to larger companies. However, we believe there is a trade-off within the reds and the blues here, allowing you to look at more of the benefits of the smaller companies than the larger ones. The risk is less within a company itself because it is the criteria are based more on separate companies specifically dividing between large and small?
And if I may add onto that, for example, with Colab, we have seen it is a company that already went net zero in 2020. But another big factor that we want to be able to consider when we are choosing the people that we are partnering with in terms of suppliers is not only if they are net zero right now or if they are 100% sustainable right now, but also the impact that we are able to make. If we have a company that is already on a strong sustainability track and is boasting strong promises and strong opportunities in that area, we believe that through the collaboration with HSBC, we are also able to then further boost those already strong sustainability values to, for example, net zero values. So it is not only a question of having it when being selected, it is also very much about potentially getting there with HSBC as a partner to take on this journey with. I hope this answers your question.
So maybe just to go a bit deeper with that. So as you mentioned, Colab, very strong credentials, right? But not an SME. If you think about the SME, the 10-person SME, what do you think about the likelihood of that company already having a net zero transition plan? Do you think that would have been a priority for a 10-person SME at that stage of development?
Absolutely not. I think that when we are at this stage of development, I can say this having had entrepreneurial experiences of my own, it is absolutely not the big thing to think about in that moment. It is rather about the product and about offering the highest quality to the clients. But it is also a question here of HSBC being able, through these suggestions that we have proposed to you today, to say to this company, hey, we would like to acquire your services, we would like to acquire your product, and in return we can give you strong feedback on how you can improve sustainability, strong feedback on how you can get to net zero in a faster way than being able to do it alone. And we believe this is also partially done with AI by being able to interpret what other companies that were in similar positions already have done. So what maybe didn't shine through as much as it was intended when we were formulating this is that it is really also a question of the potential that the company has and about being able to be that partner that the company can not only provide to but can grow with, and further with this also enhancing the social and environmental impact that HSBC has. I hope this answers your question completely.
I've got another one. Just on timeline, so you gave a timeline around 18 months for what you want to embed, and based on your costs, that would be about $2 million plus capex and OPEX. What does success look like at the end of the 18 months then? So do you have 2 or 3 targets that you'd like to achieve? Can you walk us through those?
Thank you for your question. So with the timeline, the idea here is that at the end of the 18 months, we are able to be in a position where users have already started using the new dashboard and have provided HSBC with constructive feedback on how to improve it, and also in which we have redesigned the platform in the first place to include the new questions that we need to ask in order to get the data that we need for the new process for the STAR framework. So the idea here, in one of the key points that we had, is the close feedback loop with the suppliers. At the end of the 18 month, we want to be able to leverage that feedback to have a positive feedback from the suppliers that have been using it, and maybe have some action points that can bring the platform and the new dashboard from good to excellent. Furthermore, we want to be able to be in a position where we have developed some AI systems that are strong, have brought strong competencies to HSBCs, and are able to maybe be leveraged also in other areas of the operations. And finally, with the STAR framework, we want to be able to be operating with it on every application that we get from SMEs that want to be our suppliers.
Thank you. A follow-on question. Do you, on that basis, I didn't hear any targets about how many SMEs or diverse suppliers you'd actually want to see as part of that success. Is that part of the success in the next first 18 months?
Of course, a big part of our success would also be an increase in the diversity boasted by the SMEs that are collaborating with us, as well as a stronger social impact. If you're asking about specific KPIs, we believe that they can be achieved by taking a look at the current data that we have on HSBC and the current performance that we have. And maybe Anna, you would like to give a bit of insights on the KPIs?
Yes, of course. Also, in the risk mitigation, we mentioned that the smaller SMEs have a trouble acquiring external finance from the banks, as they have lower assets and lower history. Thus, we try to mitigate this by providing free application processing. This will minimize their costs highly and encourage them to partner with us. This will lead to potential new clients as they will be using our services in the future. This also decreases the customer acquisition cost, as it is much cheaper for us to provide these services for our small SMEs than to start going and searching for bigger companies in order to gain more clients. As the acquisition cost of clients decreases, this is both profitable to us as well as them. This is a very beneficial relationship that we're hoping to maintain in the future. Of course, striking the balance between big and smaller companies is essential. The exact percentage of this is yet to be determined. However, we hope with the implementation of our framework that SMEs will have a higher consideration in HSBC's developmental model. Thank you. I hope this answers your question.